Next week, Alabama voters will go back to the polls for the primary runoffs. One of the top positions on the ballot, Lieutenant Governor.
John Wall, former chair of the Alabama Republican Party, and Secretary of State Wes Allen are going head to head. We have our Michael Higdon, who sat down with a former state rep to talk about the candidates and who could come out on top. Michael.
Well, former Alabama State Representative Paul DeMarco says the Republican runoff for Lieutenant Governor between Secretary of State Wes Allen and Alabama GOP Chairman John Wall remains one of the most competitive races on the ballot. These were the numbers from last month's primary, with John Wall at 40.6% of the votes and Wes Allen sitting at 38%.
This has become a very competitive race, and both men have their strengths.
DeMarco says Allen entered the race with advantages from his statewide experience as Secretary of State, a former state representative, and probate judge. His work on election issues and redistricting helped him lead early polling. However, DeMarco credits President Donald Trump's endorsement as a major factor in boosting Wall's campaign.
I don't think there's any question about it, because while John Wall was well known or is well known as the Republican Party chairman, I don't think the average Alabamian really knew who he was, and having that endorsement from the president really was able to springboard him above some of the other candidates in the race.
While both candidates are emphasizing conservative credentials, DeMarco says their messaging differs. Allen has highlighted his record and accomplishments in office. Allen's campaign website lists major wins of his legislative agendas, including banning internet connectivity for election tabulators, requiring the use of paper ballots in all Alabama elections, outlawing absentee ballot harvesting and ranked choice voting, and expanding the Alabama crimes of moral turpitude law. Wall is touting what he plans to do if elected, laying out issues he's focused on, including economy and jobs, saying he wants to reduce red tape and create a climate where small businesses can thrive, tax relief for citizens, education improvement, with him supporting school choice and election integrity.
In the general election, they've got to play to the base, but they also have to say, these values are what everybody wants in Alabama. They want lower taxes, less regulation, public safety, pocketbook issues, economic development, protecting jobs. I mean, those issues should be bipartisan, and they should play to everybody when it comes to public safety and making sure that we have a good economy in Alabama.
DeMarco also stressed the importance of the lieutenant governor's office.
The lieutenant governor has a lot of appointment power in addition to presiding over the Senate. So presiding over the Senate, you have the ability to help craft some of the legislation that comes to the Senate, influence some of the voting when it comes to some of the senators, some of your agenda that you want to see passed.
Looking ahead, DeMarco says turnout could decide the race.
A lot of people aren't paying attention to some of these elections. It really is up to each candidate to get out their vote. If you can get everybody that showed up for you, or at least the majority of them that you got early in May, you're going to win that race.
Now, only about 23% of the population turned out to vote during the primary last month, and DeMarco stresses that despite the polling shifts and those high-profile endorsements, it really is going to come down to who actually shows up to vote next week. Wall or Allen, whoever wins, will be going up against Democratic candidate Philip Insler, who is currently a House representative for District 74.